Good afternoon, and I hope everyone is doing well. On behalf of our entire Amplix team, we welcome to our latest webinar. My name is Jeff Lieberman. We're going to be having a look at a unique organization and offering that I think has been ahead of the curve regarding looking at cloud. I have seen true synergies with their approach and a great ownership group that always helps with the building blocks. Everyone's going to be muted during this webinar. You will have the ability to post questions during the presentation in the Q&A section, and questions will come directly to us. You can also email me at jl@amplix.com if you would rather send a question in that fashion. At the conclusion of the presentation, we will address as many of the questions that we can get through. This webinar is being recorded, and we can distribute and post a link for the recording afterward. If we are not able to address any questions due to time constraints or any other reason, we'll be sure to have our Amplix team follow up with you directly. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ryan Howard and Matt Furlow from RapidScale to tell you a little bit about who they are, what they do, how they do it. I really appreciate the way they've built their organization with a unique cloud-first approach, as I mentioned, and really approaching that from a client's need perspective. So, gentlemen, without further ado, please take it away.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. My name is Ryan Howard. I'm a national partner manager with RapidScale.
And I'm Matt Forlow. I'm a channel manager with RapidScale. Came from the legacy Logicworks side. Logicworks was acquired by RapidScale back in February of 2023. Logicworks, we're going to go into a little bit about the different pieces of our organization, but we were historically the public cloud side. So where Ryan sits on the legacy RapidScale side, I come from the legacy public cloud side, which I think it might be a good segue into what we're going to be talking about in more detail today.
Indeed.
So yeah, if it makes sense, Ryan, I'll kick it back over to you to talk about the RapidScale and Logicworks story coming together and what it means for our solutions.
Absolutely. And Jeff, thank you for having us. I think we can all agree that it's an interesting time when it comes to technology and the IT departments within business and organizations that we're dealing with. As you look across the landscape over the last few years, how much has changed? And prior to starting this off, we were actually just talking about COVID, which obviously is a little bit of a common topic over the last few years. But with COVID, so many things changed within IT organizations that were already complex. And now we're looking at organizations have to deal with desperate workplaces. We're not reporting to a brick and mortar office like we were prior to 2020. We have employees that aren't coming to the office, but maybe they're working from home. Maybe they're working from Starbucks. You don't know. And more as we talk about cloud first, and we've got applications that are critical to our businesses that are not sitting on a server in a server closet in that brick and mortar office anymore. So we've got desperate workplaces, desperate people, and desperate applications, which all leads to a more complex IT organization for the IT department to manage. And another piece to this that we're often not touching on is that IT now has to deal with customer experience of its own, and not just the customers of the business, but the employees and the people are now the customers of IT. As we look around the world, and hiring is more difficult than ever, not just within the IT part of the organization, but within the organizations as a whole. We saw a mass movement during COVID and post-COVID where employees were shifting and taking new jobs. The world as we've seen it has changed. So IT has the responsibility for employee customer experience. This is where RapidScale comes in. RapidScale offers a platform to help simplify that IT. So as you look across what RapidScale and Logicworks have become within our merger, is RapidScale was what I like to refer to as the legacy IT. We manage a lot of the day-to-day operations that an IT department gets into. Everything from security to business continuity, the infrastructure, patch management, VDI, and network. And our friends at Logicworks.
Yep, I'll chime in there. We're on the managed public cloud side, right? So now, regardless of where a customer is in their IT journey, as Ryan outlined previously, we can meet them wherever they are in that journey, right? So now, speaking about the managed public side, whether it's AWS or Azure, and soon to be GCP as well, focusing on helping customers either migrate workloads to the public cloud, whether they're net new or they have an existing environment and they need to migrate additional workloads to those public cloud environments, or the ongoing management of those environments, right? So whether it's that initial migration all the way through the ongoing operations, that's really where we come in and provide the most value for our customers. And that can be anything in the middle, like cloud optimization, app modernization. FinOps is a huge topic right now, right? Getting your IT bill under control and avoiding cloud sprawl, right? So there's a ton of different angles that we can take and a lot of value that we can provide back to an end user, regardless of where they are on their IT journey, specifically within cloud.
When I was talking earlier about synergies and a great ownership group that you have that really targeted kind of the two organizations, RapidScale several years ago and Logicworks more recently, I think from specifically talking about cloud, I think it's a great marriage from an organizational perspective, because you can look at a client and be straight, like there's a lot of partners and providers that we utilize that can do great things on the public side, can do great things on the private side. Your approach naturally can look at it and say, this application is best served living here, and that application best served living there, and really optimize that across the board. So I think it's pretty exciting for clients to speak to.
I think too, in very few organizations that are out there in the mid-market, low enterprise space, I think it's rare, especially as you look at businesses that are older than, say, 8 to 10 years. It's very rare to find an organization that is all public cloud or all in on private cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Organizations are going to have workloads that belong in that public cloud space, and they're going to have applications that belong in the private cloud, that it makes the most sense to exist there. So we are able to offer the best of both worlds.
So good bridge there into why RapidScale, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the main differentiators and what makes RapidScale a really special partner to work with. So starting on the public cloud side, right? AWS Premier Partner, Azure Expert MSP. These are audits that we have to go through annually by both clouds to prove back to them that we are doing everything that we need to adhere to those top partnership credentials, right? On top of that stamp of approval that we have from Azure and AWS, the regulatory compliance piece is a large one, right? So audited annually for HIPAA, HITRUST, PCI, SOC, ISO. We become a really popular fit with customers who are in regulated industry. You're going to see later in the webinar some really awesome customer examples that need that strong security and compliance, attention to detail, because they have those compliance mandates that are critical to their business. Then going into our technology partners, this is more so legacy RapidScale side, but you can see, we're working with the best and brightest in the industry for these types of solutions, whether it's, Microsoft, Fortinet, Mimecast. We're actually Mimecast's #1 MSP globally. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Ryan, but I believe we are #1 globally for them. Citrix, Fortinet, Veeam, right? So we're working with the best and brightest technology partners. And then the people in our organization, the amount of cloud and technology certifications that we have across our entire engineering department is it's incredible, right? We just hired a whole bunch of AI and machine learning folks, and I think on that team alone, there's like 13 or 14 master's degrees in data science and different levels of technology, right? So the folks that you're working with within the Rapid Scale organization are the absolute experts, in any given field that they're responsible for. And at the core of it, it's the future of our customers' businesses, right? So if you really wrap around the partnership credentials, the folks we're working with, the security and compliance backbone, and the audits that we go through to prove this back to our customers to ensure that peace of mind, the people and experience that we have, right? That's all setting up the customer for a path to success, right? Not just in the short term, but in the long term, right? Everything that we're doing here, it's not just a band-aid fix. It's a solution that's going to set a business up for success year 1 through year 10 of their IT journey, right? And beyond. So really awesome slide here that I like touching on each differentiator, because it really is what separates a Rapid Scale from the rest in the cloud space.
Hey, so Matt, talk a little bit real quick about what
Yep.
goes into your public cloud partnerships and how do you
Yeah.
achieve those partnerships and why does it matter?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, customers are going to run into a whole handful of AWS and Microsoft partners that, say that they can do infrastructure work, in various degrees, right? When you see folks that have, or MSPs like RapidScale that have their premier partnership status or their Azure Expert MSP and Gold partner status, those are audits that are even more rigorous than the security and compliance audits that we go through. We have to prove annually back to Amazon and Microsoft that we're driving X amount of revenue towards their platform every year. We have X amount of certified engineers on staff that hold multiple certifications. And then the amount of complex projects that we've completed in a timely and efficient manner that's in adherence with the Amazon and Microsoft best practices. So we have to prove that in a certain volume every single year on their grading rubric. And it's a lot more difficult than you'd think. To have both the AWS Premier Partner and Azure Expert MSP, I believe we're one of 5 or 6 globally that hold both. So there are folks that have just their Premier Partnership status with AWS and just their Azure Expert MSP status, right? But to have both, we're in pretty rarefied air there. So, we're between Rapid Scale now with, post merger, we're about I'd say 500-ish person company, right? And we have the credentials of these major GSI enterprise, organizations. And we're, adhering to that SMB. We're focusing on that SMB to lower enterprise market, whereas, these GSIs are focused more on the upper enterprise, right? So to get this level of credential in that market, it's a home run fit.
Thank you.
Yep, no doubt. Move on here. Okay, so simplified IT. Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about our legacy Rapid Scale infrastructure as a service, our BaaS, and then DRaaS?
Sure. So this kind of starts off with something we were hitting on before. There are different workloads that belong in different environments. So as we look at infrastructure, I love to tell the story of Netflix. Netflix is an awesome example of and they're not a customer of ours, but they're an awesome example of an organization that belongs in the hyperscale. A few years ago, I read that when you click on Netflix to watch a show and binge watch, Yellowstone or whatever happens to be on, you are actually launching 3 individual VMs, which all spin up, and their application chooses the best performing one and shuts the other 2 down. Now, with the billing cycle, the way it works in Amazon, they're launching 3 and only paying for the 1 while it's running. And as soon as everything shuts down, you're no longer paying for it. But this makes sense for a workload in Netflix because or a workload in Amazon, forgive me, because at any given point in any given day, they don't know exactly how many people are going to be up and running on their application. Now, if you're running an ERP system and you are a large accounting office, you know exactly where your ERP system is going to be running 24 hours, 7 days a week. So you want consistent billing. You want, when you have a burstable workload like a Netflix, you want a billing system that's designed to run with that. You want to be scalable as you need to be. But when your ERP system is consistently running, that's built for private cloud. Here's this system that's built to burst. And that is just two random examples, but RapidScale can come in and help you with either one. As you look at our traditional managed private cloud in the infrastructure, tier 3 data encryption, traditional x86 workloads, we're running NetApp storage, Cisco UCS, Pure Storage. When you look at RapidScale as a whole, as we mentioned before, it's the best and the brightest. It's Gartner upper right Magic Quadrant. We are able to dive in and show you a true return on your investment that many companies are not able to see and justify when they attempt cloud on their own. So this is where we come in. Backup as a service, disaster recovery, business continuity. These are table stakes services that we offer because these are, excuse me, these are services that are absolutely needed and required by compliance, by organizations in the mid-market space, the enterprise space, that need to be done, but take time away from IT departments. This is where we are able to come in and give that time back. We have over 5 petabytes protected in backup as a service, offering RTOs and RPOs as needed. Again, tier 3 data centers, 256-bit encryption, utilizing Veeam, Zerto, and again, Gartner upper right Magic Quadrant offerings that we have achieved certification levels with and have the experts to manage for you.
Ryan, can you better differentiate backups and DR as a service?
Absolutely. So backups are snapshots, typically of a day, a week, a month of your environment that are saved in case of in case you need to rebuild a file, a folder, an individual VM. These are recommended that you do the 3-to-1 method. It's 3 copies of your data, two different types of media, one of which being offsite. We utilize Veeam, which there are many different backup softwares available in the market. Veeam is certainly one of the leaders when it comes to virtual workloads. And there are great many features and functionality within that. And then you have disaster recovery. Disaster recovery is my systems are down. I don't know when I'm going to be back. I need these servers spun up in this order, and I need it done in this amount of time. So oftentimes, conversations around disaster recovery are, I need everything up and I need it up right away, which maybe that's feasible for your business, but oftentimes it's not even needed. There may be a department or a particular workload or two that needs to be up as fast as technically possible, but perhaps your marketing department or your accounting department can be down for 4 hours or 8 hours or 24 hours without it negatively affecting your business. This is where an organization like RapidScale and Amplix come in, and we have the conversation about what your actual cost is for downtime. How much is a minute? How much is an hour? How much is a day? And that's how we help you to build the cost justifications for the service that we're going to provide. But disaster recovery versus backup as a service are, again, one is a picture, a snapshot from which we can rebuild the file, the folder, the system. But this is going to take time because we're rebuilding from scratch. Disaster recovery is typically a replication that we can turn on much, much faster. But
And
with that is a cost.
You mentioned cyber at the get-go, from an expertise perspective. So immutable backups are supposed to be an additional layer of protection, right, against ransomware. So can you just extrapolate on that a little bit?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jeff. So immutable backups, the coolest thing that I can think of to reference this, I've seen and heard on goofy movies about hacking, and people will reference an air-gapped computer, one that's not touching the network. So immutable backups are, we take a snapshot, we move it to a particular type of storage, and then we remove that connection from the network until we're doing the next snapshot. And those immutable backups are kept separate and firewalled from each other. And this way, when an organization determines at what point the ransomware got in, so we can, do the forensics and go back and say, a week ago Friday, the ransomware got in. Okay, so let's go to Thursday night's backup in the immutable backups, and that's what we're going to utilize to rebuild the system. But bear in mind, we're losing potentially all of that data from Friday on because the ransomware was in the system. So all of those backups, all of that data that's on the system is going to be lost and wiped because you don't know where it is, and it is infected.
Yep, and that's important, right? Because you don't want to go to a backup and be experiencing the same exact issue. So that is a key.
Awesome, Brian. You want to touch on some of our productivity and security services?
Sure. So again, this is your dispersed employees. This is how we help. This is how we help the IT organization manage your workload. So with those dispersed employees, your workload has greatly increased. So it's services like we offer managed Microsoft 365. This is where we step in and actually become the help desk for the organization with regards to Microsoft 365, monitoring, patch management. We will do the migrations, enabling the teams, archiving, email security. These are key factors. Matt, you mentioned Mimecast. We are the top Mimecast managed service provider in the world. It is cloud integrated with M365, optimized with archival training, malware training for employees that is offered as part of this service. This is a compliance requirement for a number of organizations these days, and can seriously increase your ability to protect the organization. Desktop as a service is how RapidScale started back in 2008. We offer both Azure Virtual Desktop and Citrix solutions and 100% uptime SLA. And of course, SD-WAN. This is an incredible solution as you have these disparate employees connecting to these applications. SD-WAN is, again, it's becoming table stakes for organizations, but everything that RapidScale offers is offered as a managed service so that IT can take that time back and concentrate on improving and innovating the applications that are driving that business forward and become a profit center instead of a cost center.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And then finally, I think part of what makes RapidScale special is its orchestration portal, making it super easy for customers to see everything that's, happening within their environment. And, when you talk about all these different types of networking, productivity, and security services, having a portal that wraps that all into one and gives that visibility is something that's super important. So Ryan, you want to touch on the orchestration portal and just some of our, CSAT scores around it?
Sure. So we have this wonderful single pane of glass and a team of developers that this is their core focus. So they're constantly, again, innovating and improving applications. This is our application that we utilize. It's a beautiful single pane of glass that any software that we work with needs to have an API that we can utilize to build within our portal. And a lot of organizations have a portal, a GUI. Ours really is second to none. It is one of the things that actually attracted me to come work here at RapidScale when I got to actually see this and touch it. It ties directly into our support organization, which we finished up September at a 484 CSAT score out of 5. The industry average is about a 3.2. Our organization really is incredible in the way that we go to improve the customer experience for our IT organizations and for their employees. We are 24/7, 365, US based. So you're calling either the East or the West Coast, 24/7, 365. It is all US based. And that is where not just our support organization, but our managed service organizations, our NOCs, sit and provide all support, troubleshooting, resolutions from those bi-coastal NOCs.
Awesome. Cool. Onto the public cloud side of it. So as I mentioned earlier, focusing on helping customers, wherever they are in their IT journey. So if it happens to be on the public side, right, whether that's the migration all the way through the ongoing management. Focusing here on the migration side, this could be, an application architecture refresh, right? So assessing what they currently have, doing that infrastructure rebuild, helping them auto scale and right size their instances so that they're, to Ryan's point earlier, right, with the Netflix example, right, taking advantage of the benefits of the public cloud and its scalability. So there's no wasted resources there, right? And optimizing their storage around that. You can see some great metrics on the bottom here, 60% savings on cloud costs. We find when, we go into an environment that's all out of whack and help them right size and help them scale what they have, they tend to see their cloud bills drop, right? Moving on to database replatforming, right? So migrating to cloud native platforms, creating new data analytics, and just simplifying the migration process, right? Because there is complexity to it, especially for larger environments, right? Public cloud migrations. The piece I want to touch on here is the access that RapidScale has to funding programs. I mentioned our partnership status earlier, AWS Premier Partner, Azure Expert MSP. A major benefit of that is access to these funding programs. So helping offset the cost of large migrations. So as a customer, if you qualify for, a workload of, X size and X potential spend on the platform, Amazon and Microsoft will help offset the cost to help move your workload to their platform, right? So huge benefit to help accelerate and remove some of those burdens to entry if you find that the public cloud, or we help you find that the public cloud is the right angle for where we want these workloads to live. It is a huge benefit to help remove some of those burden and barriers of entry to an AWS or an Azure.
Matt, can you talk a
Yeah.
little bit? I mean,
Yep.
because obviously you're making a great point. It is
Yep.
very costly to do any type of
Yes.
migration.
Yep.
And you mentioned the two, like you get the MAP program on the AWS side, you get the Azure program on the
Yes.
AMP
Yep.
program on the Azure side, I should say.
Yeah.
So not everybody is necessarily eligible or can utilize those programs. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yes, yeah, for sure. There's different tiers to both. It's a tiered model. I'm unsure, I'm blanking on the threshold for each of them. But it's something like the first tier would be a 50,000 per month spend on the platform. And then the second tier would be, I believe, a $200,000 spend on the platform, right? So these are large, complex, environments that they're wanting to migrate to the platforms, and that's where they'll start to help with the funding there. So we can help do those assessments and that road mapping to help determine if you do have access to those different thresholds and levels of funding. And Amazon is constantly adjusting, and likewise for Microsoft to make it easier for customers to take advantage of these different types of fundings, right? So it's a tiered model, but they do it based on hypothetical spend of when you move those workloads.
And not, the really question I wanted to ask
Yep.
is not everyone that has expertise from a partner perspective, not anyone that has expertise in whether it's either
Right,
AWS or
Yep.
Azure can utilize these programs. So that's,
Right.
I just want to make sure that we have an understanding of
Yep.
who and why.
For sure. Yeah. So yeah, what I just said was on the customer side, more so on the
Right.
partner side. Right. So not every AWS or Azure partner is in the MAP program or the AMP program in these funding programs, right? So if you are going to maybe a regional MSP that has an AWS practice, there's a good chance they might not be part of the MAP program or eligible to have these funding mechanisms, right? Whereas at a rapid scale, we have access to everything that an Amazon or Microsoft has to offer. So that comes with that top tier partnership status that we own, is those funding mechanisms. So yeah, if you're working with a kind of a smaller MSP, there's a good chance that they might not.
Yep. And it's something you want to identify right away.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and then lastly, finishing up on the migration side, app modernization, right? So updating legacy code bases, implementing different microservices. We have a Kubernetes practice that is, popular and, one that we see often. So, and also building service workloads. So this is what's known as the professional services side of our house, right? So whether it's re-architecting, workloads that are already existing in an Amazon or a Microsoft Azure, right? Or migrating those net new workloads there. This is all on the professional service side of our house. Moving over to the management, right? So this is the ongoing operations side of our cloud infrastructure, right? So first piece of it I want to touch on is the FinOps piece, which is a hot topic right now, right? Everyone's trying to cut costs on their IT bill, figure out ways to save money, right? FinOps, if we want to talk about it more broadly, it's wrapped into our overall managed services, right? It is a pillar, it is a component, it is one of Amazon's best practices, right? So if you are a rapid scale managed service customer for AWS or Azure, you are getting a degree of cost management that is wrapped into that support, right? Alone though, standalone, we can do some FinOps assessments, right? And remediation work to help fix those pain points that are contributing to those costs, right? We have a handful of customers that come to us and say, hey, we migrated AWS 5-6 years ago, and we really haven't taken a look at it since. We have some development teams, production teams spinning up things and not talking to one another, right? So can you come in and take a look and see what's going on? And a lot of the times we'll identify, zombie resources that are turned on and not turned off, right? That are driving up costs by tens of thousands of dollars every single month. So whether we're managing it or not, we can come in and do these FinOps assessments and figure out, where there's wasted resources and help re-architect and remediate some of those pain points that are contributing to cost, right? More so on the management side. So we talk a lot about simplifying IT. this is, simplifying the management of your cloud environment on AWS or Azure, right? So team of experts that are really doing the backroom work in terms of the 24/7 monitoring, maintenance, patching, backups, disaster recovery, right? The security and compliance, making sure that the environment is not only built in accordance to, security and compliance mandates like HIPAA, high trust, SOC, ISO, PCI, but it's also managed in accordance with those compliance mandates, right? And how we really do this at scale is everything's backed by what's called our cloud reliability platform. This is our own IP. It's what we've invested millions of dollars in building, and it's that visibility and that single pane of glass, both internally and for our customers to see their health track, right? So they're all the different custom alerts and scans that are happening minute by minute throughout the day, right? Their cost and their financial information, right? Where their money's being spent in their environment, right? So another main differentiator that we have over other MSPs, right, that don't have this level of visibility and are using more, native tools with Amazon or with Microsoft Azure, right? Story I love telling about this cloud reliability platform is, we've had customers that are 100% US based, and there's a resource spun up in China at 2 a.m. We catch it in 30 seconds and shut it down and tell them the next morning, hey, found this resource is spun up in across the globe and at 2 a.m. right? That's not normal. It's not part of our custom run book here. We're going to shut that down. If that wasn't caught, that probably could have cost them tens of thousands of dollars per month, and it's a huge security risk to their business, right? So having that added layer of security and those eyeballs on their environment in the middle of the night, huge value add to an IT team, right? Not only just a lean IT team, even if a fully staffed IT team, right? The real value in our AWS and Azure managed services is freeing up IT teams to drive revenue for their business, develop their applications while leaving the mission critical infrastructure support to us, right? Because it's not feasible to ask humans to do it 24/7 around the clock, but because of the automation that we've built and the expertise that we have, we're able to do that 24/7, right? So it's a huge value add for IT teams, both robust and lean, right? And that's I'll leave it there, Jeff, if there's any questions.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you just made the point of, even if a client has those, whether it's expertise within AWS engineering or
Yep.
Azure engineering, there are absolute, values to, having an MSP like RapidScale involved. So you really hit
Yeah.
on those.
Awesome. And I like touching on just the difference of hiring your own staff versus leveraging an MSP, right? So we all know that technical talent is in demand right now, and retaining that technical talent is another challenge completely, right? So with an MSP as experienced and tenured as RapidScales, right? You're getting a full team at the cost of what it would take to hire one or two talented AWS or Azure engineers on staff, right? And then we talk about, time being money. Takes another couple months to then onboard those folks, get them familiar with the business, with the environment, right? Whereas, a RapidScale comes in and, we've worked with hundreds or, maybe even thousands at the point of customers, right, that have similar needs as the ones that, are coming in our door today or tomorrow, right? So we've worked with customers of, all shapes and sizes, different verticals, healthcare, financial services, e-commerce, retail, and we see these similar pain points, right, and these similar architectures. So you're getting that experience for day one rather than hiring one or two folks to come in, learn it all, and then make that impact, a couple months down the road, right?
It's a great point because, you're really kind of shifting the challenge of that you just made, not only hiring, but staffing and retaining
Right.
talent. And the onus is on you, really, to make sure that
Right.
that stays consistent. And that's a huge help for a client.
100%. So some case studies now. These are the more fun stories to tell. First, starting with a multinational energy company that we had, 6 data centers that were sitting on-prem. all needed to be moved to Azure, right? So we started with one data center. I think we're beginning on the second one right now. But the plan is to move all 6 of these over to Azure and then manage those infrastructure once they're there, right? On top of that, there was a disaster recovery opportunity as well. So this just goes back to where we were at the beginning of the presentation about the Logicworks and RapidScale sides coming together during this merger. Last year, this opportunity wouldn't be possible because those are 2 separate solutions and 2 separate companies, right? Now you have the Azure migration and managed services and the disaster recovery arm together under one roof and one bill. So for the customer, it's ease of transaction, ease of business, right? And it's all living under one roof. And back to that point around lean IT teams, right? They had 5 IT staff for 2,500 users across 29 locations and 6 data centers. So that's 5 people managing all of that. They can't be expected to do that 24/7 around the clock, right? These people need vacation time eventually as well, right? So insert, trusted partner, MSP that can help them accelerate their migration, and then manage it on top of that and give them that peace of mind with the disaster recovery lens on top of it. It was a home run fit because we really freed them up to drive their business forward and, got them from point A to point B without disrupting their business.
Five
Ryan, yeah,
IT, five
touch on
IT
this
for
one.
2,500. I'll take it.
Yeah.
We had 2 IT for 2,800. We have a mental health and management clinic. This is an organization that is out acquiring and supporting mental health clinics throughout the U.S. They're definitely in M&A mode and consuming smaller practices throughout the country. And they have 2 IT staff for the entire organization. So 2,800 users trying to, as fast as the business can acquire new practices, bring them up onto a central communication system in M365. We were able to tie in Mimecast for archiving and compliance to achieve that, along with some SD-WAN and infrastructure as a service. This was a great opportunity driven by one of our more tenured sellers in the company, who was able to see the various needs within this organization and really dive in and help to give the IT staff time to really, like we said before, manage the customer experience for these new practices as they're being acquired. And RapidScale was able to step in and wrap our arms around kind of the day-to-day work of the IT organization and take on that responsibility for them.
And then last but not least, this was actually an Amplix and RapidScale customer. So a really great story here. Jeff, I don't know if you want to touch on this or kind of set the stage and I can add some context.
Yeah, well, this is a client of ours, been a client of ours for a while. A large healthcare provider that they needed immediate help and long-term support within their AWS infrastructure that they had, that they were, building and obviously looking towards the future of that growth. And we're looking for support around building, managing, optimizing. There were actually 2 MSPs that had been helping and supporting, but I think the client and the team in general wasn't, thrilled with the partnership that they were receiving at that time. So we went through a vetting process. We obviously looked at several great partners. And in the end, it was decided that, Logicworks, this was actually pre-merger with RapidScale. And, I speak to the client all the time. They've really been ecstatic with the results. It's been a true partnership with the client and their engineering team, and RapidScale. And, obviously looking forward to continued success in the future there.
Yeah, no, it was certainly an awesome opportunity. It was exactly what makes us special on the public cloud side. They needed everything that is a home run fit for us, right? The security and compliance, right? Getting their AWS cost and infrastructure under check, right? So going through that process of assessing their environment, right? Figuring out, okay, hey, there's gaps, in your security and compliance, posture, right? So let's re-architect your environment to meet HIPAA and high trust compliance mandates. And then through that re-architecture, we were able to significantly drive down the cost of their monthly AWS bill. And then on top of that, it's helping all of the folks on their IT team, give them structured process on a day-to-day of, best practices and, how we can work together, because there's roles and responsibilities on the MSP side and the customer side, right? So, we're only as good as the folks that are, on the customer side in the IT department, right? So if, things are constantly breaking, we're going to have to constantly be fixing them, right? So having that mutual relationship of saying, okay, here's how everything needs to run every single day in order for this organization to get the absolute most ROI out of their AWS environment, right? So I think establishing those processes and best practices, we've really seen this organization take off, and it's been a really great customer since.
Yep. And you were also able to, and the client was able to take advantage of that MAP program we were talking about earlier through the process.
Sure. Yep. They sure were. Yep. Cool. And then, finally here wrapping up, because I know we got some questions to get to. Just want to leave some X as a service considerations, right? So when we're talking about securing, protecting, and scaling workloads, whether that's in a private cloud or a public cloud, or any of the security, productivity, and networking services that we touched on throughout the presentation, these are some questions that, as IT leaders within your organization, you can ask yourself, right, when evaluating an MSP or, a third party to come in and help with specific workloads, right? So around the infrastructure piece, right, it's just understanding what your team looks like, what their bandwidth looks like. Are they lean or stretched thin? What are your challenges and pain points? Cost, security, reliability, scalability, right? What are your security and compliance mandates? What's your spend? Am I spending too much in AWS, Azure, or private, right? So having that MSP come in and help optimize. On the disaster recovery or backup as a service, right? Have I met the last requirements of my latest security addendum, right? What were the last results of that DR test? And Ryan touched on it earlier. What's the cost of my business if we experienced any downtime? On the network side, where are my users? Where are my applications living, right? What are my network requirements? And then productivity, right? It's goes back to the people, the places, the applications. Are they secure, right? Microsoft 365. Do we have help desk support? Are we paying too much for that help desk support, right? Because RapidScale offers a very competitive offering for price per user. And then on the email side, right? We talked about being Mimecast's #1 MSP. Are my email archives secure, and are my employees secure, right? There's a lot of phishing attacks and bad actors out in the world trying to penetrate through email, right? So these are all questions to ask yourself when thinking about each aspect into this X as a service, right? Each aspect of that, just food for thought, right? And if there are any issues or pain points or in any of these areas, have a conversation with Jeff, right? Ask those questions, and we're more than happy to come in and help anywhere we can.
Yeah, and I was just going to follow up on that. That certainly, if there's ever any question within everything that we kind of covered through this presentation, it is absolutely worth a conversation with your Amplix representation and RapidScale. It's important to be proactive rather than reactive.
Yes.
In this world, and certainly even if it's an assessment, health check, etc. Can you identify a problem? There's areas within security, cost, operational inefficiencies, et cetera, that can probably get identified, and obviously make a better solution moving forward in the future.
Yep. Awesome.
Cool. Well, I know we've got a few questions in. Just to throw it out to everybody again, certainly any question that you'd like to send over, please do so. And we're going to get to, we only have a few minutes, but we'll get to at least a handful of them and kind of go from there. So let's get right into it. Does RapidScale have an AI practice, gentlemen?
Yes, as of 2-3 months ago, we have, I touched on it a little earlier, we have, I believe, 10 or 11 folks on our AI and machine learning team. Across this team, they have, 10 or 15 master's degrees in data science and, machine learning and various, IT practices. And they've been pretty active the last few months because AI and ML has been a hot topic, with the emergence of AI really in the last year or so. So, yeah, we definitely have an AI practice, and if there are any questions around different use cases for AI and, the data that it's leveraging, happy to dig into that. But that's a pretty deep topic with a whole can of worms. But we have a lot of
Absolutely.
use cases and content that Jeff, we can arm you or Amplex representatives with to dig into those different needs across AI and data, right? So.
Okay. Grab another one here. Let's see. What's your target size company in regards to overall spend?
I'll start on the public cloud side, and then I'll let Ryan chime in on the private side. On the public side, I would say billing anywhere north of 7K per month on an AWS or an Azure. Not saying that we can't work with anyone underneath that spend. We certainly work with a handful of startup companies, right, that really need that security and compliance attention, where the value that they receive in a rapid scale is in that managed infrastructure around like a HIPAA or a high trust, right? So it's worth them paying for a managed service, right? But generally speaking, 7-8K per month to really see the full benefits of an MSP like RapidScale, that's where we tend to see. I like to say it's like mid SMB through lower enterprise, typically our best fit. And for us, I mean, we're not limited to regulated industries, but certainly, healthcare, financial service, retail, e-commerce, state and local government. Those are all good fits. And then on the private side, Ryan, I'll let you chime in there for users and whatnot.
Yeah, on the private side, it's a little bit different. We're not looking at the spend per se. We're looking for more company size. We do have a minimum spend. It's $750 to get involved, and it's more so that we're looking for organizations need to have at least one IT guy. We need to have someone there that understands technology because we are not replacing an IT department. That's not our overall goal. We are a managed service provider that is here to we're a force multiplier for the IT department. We want to make the IT groups look better and allow you to do more with what you have. So don't think of us as coming in to eliminate jobs. We're here to allow you to spotlight your talents where you want IT to be, and let us do the grunt work of IT.
Cool. I'm going to grab one more question, obviously, because we're running low on time. So, I know you mentioned obviously your portal earlier. What kind of software and tools do you have for the FinOps practice?
Yeah, so on the public cloud FinOps side, we use a tool called Cloud Health. So we're able to plug in that Cloud Health tool into an environment and get a detailed scan of every single component that is attributed to the cost, right? There's a ton of those tools out there, but Cloud Health is the one that we've found to be the best that we feel most comfortable with. And from there, I mean, our FinOps leader, he's got a great way of explaining it. But the one that the explanation that stands out to me is You can almost imagine it as, every month you get an electric bill, right? It just gives you the flat rate for the electric bill you're paying. It's not telling you, oh, you're spending X amount on your refrigerator, X amount on your garage lights, X amount on your TV or your kid's PlayStation, right? But with a cloud health, that's what it's doing, right? It's scanning each individual component that's contributing to the overall cost of your cloud environment. And from there, that allows our FinOps experts to really drill in to see where there's, zombie instances or wasted space, right? So in that same electric bill analogy, right? It's, oh, you're going to bed at night, but you're leaving your kitchen lights on every single night, right? Let's shut those kitchen lights off and you're going to see some cost savings at the end of the month, right? So yeah, Cloud Health is our tool, and that's generally the concept of what we do with it, plugging it in, identifying, and then remediating.
Got to have you talk to my kids about the lights. Cool.
Awesome. Good stuff.
Well, I got a few other questions, but obviously we're running low on time, so we're going to make sure that we reach out to everyone that put a question in and make sure you get your answers. So I guess first and foremost, thank you, Ryan and Matt, and RapidScale for today's discussion. I thought it was great. As always, out to our audience, our clients, don't ever hesitate to reach out to your Amplix team to look further at RapidScale. And have a point of discussion on how they could potentially support you. So with that, have a terrific day. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.